Hello there, and this is Alcon Raycon. How many of you guys were watching the soccer match yesterday between Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspurs? All the Tottenham fans would have been very anxious to see what would have happened with the player who may or may not leave them and go to Manchester City and everything else. That apart, Manchester City needs to know that they cannot afford the luxury of falling apart because they've just won so many trophies over the last few years. In truth and fact, they played well, but they lost 1-0. It was very strange for Manchester City to put the type of field that they actually did in this match. Why am I saying so? Simply because of the fact that you had a cadre of players who were doing exceptionally well for the better part of 2 or 3 years. You could feel a little bit of confidence in them. There is something about newcomers coming into a team. The first thing is the coach needs to get to know him. He needs to get to see exactly what sort of pattern does he want to use. He may have been playing for another club and you may have seen him there. Manchester City is a different organization. Sepp Guardiola would tell you that, and I'm sure he was very careful looking at it. In the original stage, he had a few of his players on the field. He had Cancelo, he had Diaz, he had Mendy, he had Ake, he had those in the back line. Where was Kyle Walker? I'm bothered about this simply because of the fact that Cancelo had not demonstrated in last year's game that he was good enough at wing back. He's a good player, but he tends to go forward in attack more and sometimes leave that area vacant for somebody else to play with. And then we look into the center of the field, and what do we see? We see Jack Grealish, and together with Fernandinho and Gundogan. Now again, we are looking at the nucleus of the Manchester City team not there. I was told and informed, and they were right, that De Bruyne was injured and couldn't play, and Zinchenko was also injured. 1 or 2 players were injured, and I'm saying, okay, fine, you cannot want to rush the run of an injured player. But in front of us, we had Sterling and we had Mahrez and little Torres in front. Now, this is the first game of the season. This is the time when a team needs to establish himself or themselves as a really well-knit unit. What did we have? The new player, Jack, coming from in the midfield. His tendency is to take the ball and run and use the skill he's got to get to the opponent's goal. This is not the way that Manchester City approaches it. They control the midfield. They wanted the best of the midfields for them. Fernandinho was in there. That's fine, but he had to go deep back. You wanted a distributor for the ball. I'm agreeing that if De Bruyne was injured, that's bad. But let's look at it now. They're 1 down. And on comes Manchester City's De Bruyne and Zinchenko. All of a sudden, it makes a simple bit of improvement that could have won them the game. My question is, and it's a humble one, why wouldn't you use a player if you believe that he's fit enough that he can play in any part of the game? Why then can't you use him to start the game? Because if he had been the injured player, went out and couldn't go on, you would not have been able to use anybody else. So therefore, he should have started with De Bruyne and Zinchenko and Walker. Those are the guys that would have made the team. The team didn't look a great opponents to them in the first half. They got a goal, that's about it. They had 1 or 2 chances. So did Manchester City have 4 chances. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it was a little bit topsy-turvy. I think maybe Guardiola wanted so anxiously to see the newcomers in the team and he did that. But in truth and fact, he paid the penalty for it. I'm not challenging him. That's the way he thinks. That's the way he wants to see things done. He wanted to be sure if Mahrez was still on top of his game, was Sterling in that part of the game. All of these things are very important. Ake is a good investment. He played exceptionally well against Diaz. So therefore, you've got a good-looking team, except for the players that you left on the beach, on the side of the field, and you couldn't get that goal or get 2 goals to win it. But I'm still proud of Manchester City. They do things very well. I want to make the point on this one. The midfield for Manchester City is the engine room of that team. They do not just pass the ball around and keep possession. They develop passing lanes. They play positive passes, and they get more results out of it. So the midfielders that you're looking for will be the ones who are creative, the David Silvas. Fernandinho is extremely well, but he's also moving back to help the defense, for if anybody breaks early with a lot of speed, he will be the first there to stop them. So I'm not, and I hope the fans of Manchester City are not disappointed in them. They played exceptionally well. As I said, the coach wants to see a little bit more of who he wants to see about. That's fine, but this is only the first game. So let's keep a look at him and see in the future what's going to happen.